What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. So, it looks like some interesting things coming out of the Pacquiao camp. As you guys know, Pacquiao will be facing none other than Brandon Bam Bam Rios later this year. The thing that troubles me with Pacquiao is one, he's coming off a devastating knockout suffered at the hands of Juan Manuel Marquez when he was arguably winning the fight, definitely winning that particular round up until the knockout. Um, and he's a fighter who's been plagued with distractions. By distractions, I mean cheating on his wife, gambling. They're accusing him of harboring a fugitive. They said he was drinking a lot. He was on Jimmy Kimmel and different various media outlets and kind of became larger than life and such a superstar to the point where he had distractions. In the Marquez 3 fight, a lot of people thought Marquez won that fight. Pac later said, leading into the Marquez 4 fight, that he underestimated Marquez and he wasn't training hard and all kinds of stuff. So to me, that's a problem. If someone gave you previously two tough, very tough fights, why would you undertrain or underestimate him in the third fight? So to me, it sounds like an excuse for looking subpar. Um, in the Timothy Bradley fight, he didn't look great, whether you thought he won or not. He didn't look great. And now it looks like Manny Pacquiao and Alex Ariza potentially are no longer a unit, no longer working together. And it's a long running, it's like well known that Freddie Roach and Alex Ariza just don't get along. I think they depicted some of it on HBO 24/7 for one of the fights. But the two don't get along. Freddie Roach is a longtime trainer of Pacquiao. And for that reason, it looks like Alex Ariza may have been taken out of the Pacquiao camp and the preparations for the Brandon Rios clash. My thoughts on this: Alex Ariza, he does his thing, and he didn't use Pacquiao didn't use Alex Ariza last fight, and he got knocked out. I'm not saying that's the only reason, but obviously coming off of a devastating knockout, you want the best in the business, or you want a notable, um, basically a strength and conditioning coach who's really going to push you and get you to that next level. Alex Ariza definitely has a solid, strong resume in terms of the big name fights he's been attached to. So to pull him out, someone you've worked with previously, someone who could help you in that degree, I don't know if that's the best look for the Pacquiao camp. And that's basically what I'm talking about in this video. Just some of the decisions in the Pacquiao camp. One thing that I do fear for Pacquiao is usually this early on, when you start seeing like levels of disagreement or just bad juju in the media, that's usually doesn't make for a strong training camp. And I'm not saying he's not trying or he's not training hard. However, for me, a fighter coming off a devastating knockout and basically subpar performances, trying to get back on top, trying to take their career back by the like take the bull by the horns, this is not the type of behavior or things that you want. People dropping out of camp or getting fired out of camp. I already made a video showing Brandon Rios is moving up in weight and he looks significantly bigger than Pacquiao. That's one problem. Pacquiao looks really small. Both fighters, Brandon Rios and Pacquiao, both look like kind of soft and out of shape. However, Brandon Rios never looks sliced up. He never looks really just shredded and ripped. I think that's just more or less his body type and his fighting style, and it works for him. However, when you see a fighter who's athletically gifted like Pacquiao, normally comes into fights and training camps looking super shredded, and you could tell he doesn't have much weight to gain or lose, depending on if he's fighting a catch weight or not. Um, that's a problem. So Rios, I'm not really worried about Rios because he's moving up in weight, and that's always been his body type. Some fighters have power, and they just don't look ripped and buffed up. And like some people look buff, like Timothy Bradley, and look real ripped and look like they'd be strong as hell, and they're really not that strong. So physique in boxing, that's lesson one. Physique in boxing doesn't translate to power, but when there's a guy who's known for power like Pacquiao, and his body type is looking softer than he normally looks, that could be a problem. Alex Ariza being taken out of camp, that could be a problem. Pacquiao training in the Philippines slash in the U.S., things like this don't necessarily make for the greatest training camp. Freddie Roach hasn't had the greatest year with his fighters as far as 2012 is concerned. Some fighters left him recently. Chavez Jr. left him, so I don't know where his head's at. I don't know where his condition with Parkinson's is at. But this early on, to have so many things in the Pacquiao camp seeming to go wrong, to me, is not a great look. If you look at Floyd Mayweather in his camp for the Robert Guerrero fight, there was a big change that was made in that fight. Floyd Mayweather said, "Hey, I want my dad back in my corner. I started my career with him. I want to finish my career with him." And the thing with that is that meant his uncle got replaced by his dad. His uncle and his dad don't necessarily have the best brother relationship. However, they were still operating in unison. Roger wasn't the head trainer. However, he did his mid work with Floyd Mayweather, and Mayweather said he has the best of both worlds in the camp. Those are better signs to me, because even though Roger could definitely be salty or upset that he's been training his Floyd Mayweather, his nephew, for so long, and then all of a sudden Floyd wants to move over to Showtime and end his career with his dad, even though he's been in the corner. I mean, that's the type of thing that could cause a person to feel a certain type of way. But from what I've seen in the media, they were pretty amicable about it. It wasn't really an outright beef or anything. They just did their newly assigned duties, and Floyd went on to win that fight. Those are usually good signs. But when you have fighters like Pacquiao, Nonito, I'm not just naming Filipino, I could just think of that, and all the things you hear out of the fighter's mouth or out of the training camp early on aren't good. Like in the Nonito versus Rigondeaux, there's just a lot of distractions. Rigondeaux was training hard, and Nonito said he was training hard, but he also had his wife pregnant, who was expecting their first child. He said he couldn't. This is even before he lost the fight. Him and Robert Garcia, his trainer, couldn't work together often because Robert Garcia was prepping Brandon Rios for Rios' rematch. And you've seen how that fight turned out. Nonito looked like he got embarrassed by Rigondeaux. So I'm not really liking the vibe I'm getting from the Pacquiao camp early on. Just some of the things that they're saying. I don't know if they're underestimating Brandon Rios or they feel Pacquiao has all the advantage, which he does on paper. Speed. He has power in both hands. He's a southpaw. He has angles. He's fighting in an Asian-based or highly Asian-populated venue. And he's Filipino. But Brandon Rios is not the type of fighter who doesn't come to fight. He's younger than Pacquiao. He has an aggressive style, which could work against him at this juncture of Pacquiao's career, or it could work for him. We'll just see what type of Pacquiao shows up. But I'm really not liking what I'm hearing from the Pacquiao camp, just in terms of the things that are being said. The Alex Ariza situation. Pacquiao's talking about Mayweather a lot, and just things that don't make me feel that his training camp is starting off on the right foot. Now, he could prove me wrong and have an amazing training camp and just look explosive, look like vintage Pacquiao. But the early signs are there that there are some red flags. I don't really like what's coming from the Pacquiao camp. Another thing with Pacquiao that I'm not liking, Pacquiao seems like a very humble, very respectable, nice guy. But this is the fight game. This is nasty as it gets. This is mano y mano, one-on-one. It's the hurt business. So, to me, I think I need to see more of the Pacquiao digging down and being aggressive, showing no type of mercy. Not like, oh, I'm going to let this guy off the hook. I'm not going to be a good finisher. I'm going to be the Pacquiao that's put on some shitty performances in recent memory. We need that killer Pacquiao back, especially if he's going up against a guy like Brandon Rios. And I see pictures of Brandon Rios and Pacquiao. They're at the Great Wall of China. I know for a fact, just from watching Brandon Rios in previous fights, his interviews leading up to the fight, I mean, this guy has bad intentions. Whether he could pull it off or not, that remains to be seen. But I know Brandon Rios has a mean streak, and he's going to come to fight and to really knock Pacquiao's head off. He seems very confident that this is the right timing for him to become a superstar. And he just has a more overall aggressive, like, machismo, whatever you want to call it, type of demeanor. Whereas Pacquiao, he looks like he's respecting Brandon Rios too much. And in my opinion, we need that killer Pacquiao, that Pacquiao who's not gonna respect you, who's gonna say fuck me getting knocked out, and just be the aggressive, fast, um, dazzling hand speed Pacquiao with no mercy. I don't want to see like laid back, chill Pacquiao. It's kind of like the Die Hard movie. If you watch the first four Die Hards, Bruce Willis and his character John McClane had a certain demeanor. It was like John McClane. You knew him as a smartass. He was very sarcastic, dry humor, dark humor, smart aleck, smart ass comments, very quick whips when he was talking to the bad guys and whatnot. But if you watch the most recent Die Hard, and it's my least favorite out of the whole series, is really because Bruce Willis, or one of the things is because Bruce Willis as John McClane didn't seem like vintage John McClane. He seemed like very passive, a lot more easygoing, and they were kind of trying to develop the relationship between him and his son. He was letting his son talk to him a certain way, and that's not really the Bruce Willis that we grew to love in the Die Hard series. So, point being, Pacquiao needs to be the John McClane from like the first 3 or 4 movies of the Die Hard series, not the passive John McClane who's just real chill and older, and he's not really the same person that we've seen before. And that's kind of what Pacquiao's been. He's just like a shell of his former self in terms of that aggressive nature, that mean streak, that super fierce competitor, warrior spirit. So we'll see what happens. I just don't like what I'm hearing from the Pacquiao camp. That's my personal opinion. Let me know what you guys think of this fight. Who wins? How does it play out? What do you think of Alex Ariza no longer being a part of the Pacquiao camp? How does that hurt Pacquiao's chances? As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next videos, Ego signing off.